So the referee Eric Lewis retired. I don't know if you guys know, but Eric Lewis was a referee in the NBA. He had been a referee for years, and honestly, there's something to be said, about his refereeing and what it did for the league and what it didn't. He was a legend in his own right, and we do have to give him respect, at least as a person. But that's not what I want to talk about, because if it would all be fun, I wouldn't be making a 10-minute video, 12-minute video, even if it's an 8-minute video talking about him. The biggest reason why we want to talk about Eric Lewis is because he was a scum referee. Now, I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but Eric Lewis was a bad referee. Now, this isn't to say that he refereed the wrong way or that he didn't know the game of basketball. You cannot say that. In terms of knowing the game, he was phenomenal, right? It mostly came down to his bias. For those who don't know, Eric Lewis is one of these referees who mostly prided themselves on being right. He liked being right. You could tell. And it was a thing that he cared about making the right calls. But also he cared about his team winning. And this is where it comes up. Eric Lewis, as much as he was a good referee, he was also a scum one. If you guys don't know, well, I say this with confidence, but nothing was ever, confirmed. But Eric Lewis used to rig games. Like me as a fan who watched games that he refereed, I could tell you that he rigged the games. Eric Lewis was a referee who was notorious for being a Celtics fan, was notorious for his Celtics having such a great record against other teams when he refereed. And honestly, it became so far that when they found his wife's Twitter, right, they found his and they found everything, they found out that he was a real, true and bred Celtics fan. Right? He had the jerseys, he cared, his whole family is devoted to that franchise. And it came to a point where people said, like, yo, what is happening, right? Like, this dude, there's obviously something up. The biggest clip that Ray Lewis ever produced was the one where LeBron got hit in the arm so hard by Jason Tatum that it made his arm go down and miss the game-winning layup, which he was either about to make or get free throws for. And then that's when the whole arena went crazy, because I didn't think they had a challenge at the time. I think they had spent it already. So the call could not go back. And LeBron went crazy. They had that one clip of him reacting everywhere. And Pat Bev took the camera and showed it to Ray Lewis himself and said, like, dude, are you blind? Can you not see? It ended up being a bunch of technical fouls, and the Lakers lost that game because of that call, purely because of that call. And I'm sorry, even if he didn't make the shot and he had to go to the free throw line, it's LeBron James in the free throw line. He makes 70% of those. He's at least making one, and he's one of the clutchest players of all time. So, needless to say that there was some sketchy stuff. And people really didn't like him, People don't like refs with bias. People don't like refs who don't know the game enough to separate their feelings from the game. And when you have an impact on the game, it is very easy for a ref to be able to change everything. And when people saw this, people started calling him out. The NBA opened an investigation. And this is where I think it went wrong for him, right? Like, before he could get away with whatever, he obviously had some biased calls, but a bad call each game happens. I'm sorry, but it's true. Yes, the referee should be the best in the world, but I think it is human to have bad calls. And that's something that we like from having real-life referees. The fact that they can give us the game from a perspective of people who know way more than us. And if they make up a call which we don't agree with, then we just have to live with that, and that's that. But in my opinion, when it got to the point where it was consistent robbery of games from other teams, then it becomes a problem, yes, maybe if you lose one game because of a referee, right, you could still win the next one. Even if it's in the playoffs, there's more games that you can win to get yourself back up. But when you look at Ray Lewis and his history with reffing, it's terrible. Like the Celtics, no team should have a positive record with a coach or with a referee unless they were the most dominant team of all time. Like if you refed in the 90s, obviously the Jordan's going to have a positive record with you. But apart from that, I'm sorry, we shouldn't be looking at teams like the Celtics, which through Ray Lewis's time there, it's not like they've been perfect, and have multiple examples of bias, of bad calls, of fluky officiating, of things that I could have even called in the NBA where I would have just called that a foul, not even a flagrant, right? Because Tatum not punched, but he smacked LeBron's arm, and that was unnecessary use of contact. Maybe it didn't deserve a flagrant, but even if it would have been a tech, right? Something at that hard of a foul not being called was crazy. And it caused the league to go crazy, right? All the fans were like, what is happening to the NBA? I remember the day that came out, people were like, oh my God, what is happening, right? And Ray Lewis really took most of the blame as he was the one who made that call and as he should have taken most of that blame. In my opinion, when it came down to the official NBA, actually opening an investigation, that is when it really changed everything. Mark Stein said the NBA, I'm told, has opened an official review into the activity unearthed this week with the frequent mentions of veteran referee Eric Lewis. And then he said that in May 26, 2023, basically there was a burner account, which is an account which people have where they don't use their real names or where they post photos, pictures, and tweets so that other people don't know it's them. And basically he had one of these accounts, it's what Kevin Durant uses and everything, to post. And there had been some clear bias of him responding to other things, defending himself, and apparently setting the record straight with some of the things that people were saying. Now, I'm sorry, but the account, if you don't know, had three things going for it. First, Ray Lewis the account always went for the Celtics. Second, the account would always defend Ray Lewis to the death, Eric Lewis, to the death, and never think that he got a call wrong when they would talk bad about him on Twitter. And third, it followed two people, and I'm pretty sure it was his wife's job and his wife, right? Or the NBA referee committee or something like that. So basically, he had this burner. There were all the clues that it was him, and then some people found out about it because Eric Lewis was a big topic at the moment. A lot of people were tweeting about him, and then he started tweeting back to them, and that caused a huge scandal. The NBA started investigating, and now a few months later, now we have him retiring. That just shows you that there's some fluky stuff there, right? There's something that's not right. And in my opinion, this is the problem with referees. Referees are people in the NBA who hold power. And when you have that type of power where you can control a basketball game to its entirety, right? We need to hold these referees accountable, right? Maybe they don't make as much money to be fined like NBA players, but even if it's a fine, even if it's a suspension, even if you take a few games away from them, bad calls deserve to be punished. I understand that the referee has all the job in the world. Their job is the most important, because if they don't officiate right, then the game doesn't go how it has to go, and maybe the outcome changes. And we have to give respect to them for that. But when you have a guy who will completely change the course of a game just because he didn't make the right call or because he didn't do what he had to do, it really changes up the dynamic that we have in the NBA as a league. And as a franchise, I would be really annoyed if you told me that a referee getting a call wrong cost me something like a championship or a playoff position or a series. Now, Eric Lewis is now retired, so let's hope that as we go, we can find more refs which maybe or doing some stuff like this and get them figured out so that the league can be better. I'm glad this happened. Ray Lewis retired. Tell me what you think about it.